Alright, Rachel Schaefer back at you another Twin Family video, and last week we took a look at the Everdrive N8 Pro, again, this time for the NES. Before that, we rebuilt the NES as part of the Harley project. But you cannot tell the full story about the NES without its competitor. This is the Japanese Master System, and we're going to be looking at that as well as the Master Everdrive X7. But why a Japanese Master System? Why not an American one? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. And here she is, the Sega Master System, the Japanese one. And the box may look big, but it's really not. It's a lot smaller than the American box, and for good reason. It's because there's no light gun, there's no pack-in game. It's literally just the system, controllers, and that's pretty much it. Now, this is a unique case because what we think of the Master System is the same, but it's also completely different too. Because as everyone knows, the Master System came out first in Japan as the Mark III in 1985, I believe, and then we got the Master System in 86. However, what not a lot of people remember or know is that the Master System was released in Japan in 1987, but as a pretty much souped up Mark III. So they took the American shell and literally put the FM sound module built into the system, as well as the headphone port for the 3D glasses. So no need to use a cart adapter. Like in America, you could just plug in your 3D glasses into a headphone slot. So in some ways, this is the best Master System to own. And also because there's Japanese peripherals for the Mark III that will not work on an American Master System. They will only work on a Japanese Mark III or Master System console, such as paddle controllers and a couple other things that came out for it. But not the prettiest thing, but for the price, I'm not going to complain, and it's a project to do. And it's in box, complete with the manual and everything. This is the Japanese unit. And of course, on top, we have AC. There's an RF adapter, which I had to throw out because I don't know what is it with Japanese consoles, but a lot of times with the RF adapter, the top is clipped off where you'd screw it into the cable knot. But whatever. There's two controllers, the Master System. There's an adapter in here. Don't know what all this other writing is, but I know the 3D glasses adapter is right here, as well as the FM is built in. I'll show you that. And on the back side we have, and it says FM sound support in the 3D glasses. Now this has a handle, but I'd rather not trust it. And the same on the back. There's nothing different from the front or the back when it comes to this box. And on the bottom, just a whole bunch of nothing. So the box, sort of unimpressive, but still cool to have, especially with the manual. I checked archive.org. I don't see a Japanese Master System manual scan, so I have to do that eventually, and I will get to that hopefully by the time this video is done and uploaded. So now that we took a look at the Master System box, it's time to look at the Master System itself. And there are a few differences. And here it is, the Japanese Master System. I wouldn't say in its full glory because it's a little beat up, but it was a lot more beat up before I started cleaning it. So it looks as good as it's going to look. It's completely cleaned. The controllers are completely cleaned. But for the price I paid for it and everything, as you see, that came with it, I can't complain. So you'll notice some differences right away. First of all, you have a headphone jack for the 3D glasses. Now, I don't know if mine will work because the board for the 3D glasses, that little tiny thing, is a little bit cracked. But I was told I could use the card adapter if I really needed to. And at worst, maybe a bodge wire could fix it. But it's not like I can really worry about that because, well, It doesn't work on flat screens. So you'll notice the cart slot is completely different. It's a lot thinner, and that's because this is for Mark III cartridges. So you can't exactly take a Master Everdrive or Master System cart and put it in. It just won't work. But we have a solution for that. Another thing you'll notice is that instead of a reset, and of course the glare is screwing up, it's got a rapid fire button. And how that works is you take your controller, you hold down the button, you press rapid fire, release, and the power LED will start blinking, and that's how you're in rapid fire mode. Also, you have your typical pause button that can be used on the Master System, so that's intact. And as I said earlier, it's got the FM board built in. And this is literally the American Master System just souped up, and that's because Japan got it after we got our Master System. Before that, it was the Mark III in Japan. Then the Americans got the Master System, and then they brought the Master System to Japan as like an all-in-one bundle. Think of it as a new Nintendo 3DS, but for the Master System. Now, to get around this whole American cartridges not working thing, especially since we're going to be using this for the Master Everdrive and to show it off, we have a cartridge adapter. And yes, it's 3D printed, but there's a board underneath. So we put this in, and then it takes care of our problem, because all this really is a size lockout. So this is just a pass-through. And then we pop the Master Everdrive in, turn on the power, and it's working just like that. And so that takes care of that problem, although one day, hopefully, we'll be building a new Master Everdrive cartridge once people start doing this 3D print for the retro gamer store board. So now on the back also, yes, you still have your expansion port, but you also only got 2 ports. You have your AV port and you have your power port. There's no channel select. And it does have an RF switch, although the channel selector is actually on the RF switch itself and not on the Master System, since this was more meant to use AV. So that's pretty much the Master System from Japan. But there's one more thing, the reason why we got it, not just because of the FM sound, but because there were some peripherals in Japan that you could only use on a Japanese Master System. You cannot use it on an American, one of which is the paddle controller. And there was a few games that used it. Global Protectors was one, Megumi Rescue, Alex Kidd BMX Trials. Outrun can work with it. And I know there's patch versions where you could just use the standard Master System controller. But I figure for this video that's coming up about the Master Everdrive, I wanted to actually be accurate with the paddle controller. And besides that, I've tried the patch versions. They're okay, but it's missing that bit of accuracy, especially with the Megumi Rescue. So I'll be glad to get into that. And by the way, this is a standard paddle controller like you'd see on an Atari. This goes back and forth. You've got your button there. But the reason why you got the shoulder button is because you could also hold it like this and use it one-handed like an Atari paddle, or you can use it like a Arkanoid controller. It's really up to you. So that is the Japanese Master System in a nutshell. And now that you see we have one, now it's time to take a look at the Master Everdrive. And you'll be amazed at what this can do. And here is the Master Everdrive. I got the deluxe version from Stone Age Gamer, but it was Crix that sent me the cart. So again, a thank you to Crix for doing that and entrusting me, as he has done for the Turbo Everdrive Pro and the Everdrive N8, both of them, one before the pandemic and the other one now. So this is the deluxe version that you would get from Stone Age Gamer. It comes in this lovely bit box. Play your library of Master System and SG-1000 games on a single cart. Use a microSD card along with an easy-to-use interface to play your backups. Convenience of an emulator, the accuracy of original hardware. Now, there's an asterisk next to the SG-1000 because you can use the Master Everdrive on the Genesis with the Powerbase converter. It's just the SG-1000 games won't work. Same with the Game Gear if you use the Master Gear converter. But we're going to be focusing on the Master System. I'm doing this one hand, so bear with me. Crick sent us the clear cart. Now, you can get us in either solid black or clear, and we got the clear. I just replaced the Crick sticker with the Stone Age Gamer one to match the book. So we have the Master Everdrive board, and if you'll notice, it's short. Well, that's because a lot of these Master System games were just converted Mark III boards. Now, I'm not sure if the pinout is the same as the Mark III. That I'm not an expert on. I'll obviously put it down as a note if it is, if it isn't. Of course, you see you have your SRAM battery. You have all your chips. Now, it also looks like a Game Gear cartridge, and the reason for that is because the Master System hardware was used to make the Game Gear. So you figure the Game Gear was just a souped-up Master System to the point when Cricks made this, it was actually a side project of the Everdrive Game Gear. So the Everdrive Game Gear came out first, and then Cricks realized, hey, with a couple things, I could just port it to the Master System. And that's exactly what he did. So the reason this exists is because the Game Gear one exists. So that's another reason too. Now, I'm not sure if I could just put Game Gear ROMs on here and then run it off of a Game Gear. I got to try to do that one day to see if I can. And of course, it has a micro SD card. 8 gigabytes should be plenty. You don't need any more. And of course, you got the Everdrive sticker on the back. And put that in here. And as with all deluxe versions, you get your 2 stickers. You have your troubleshooting flash carts warning, and you have a user manual. And Cricks literally made this for the whole Everdrive Master System line, even though there's only the X7 currently. Can I play Master System games with a Sega Game Gear? Yes, with a Master Gear converter. What I'm trying to figure out eventually is, can you put Game Gear games on this Master Everdrive and play the Game Gear games with the Master Gear converter? I'm not sure if you can or if you can't. It's worth looking into because, yes, I asked the questions that are just weird to ask. But for this one, it's not just Master System and SG-1000. There's also people that have made MSX conversions, not MSX2, which you're thinking for Metal Gear, but the original MSX, which is more in line with the ColecoVision, as well as the SG-1000. They all share similar chipsets. So that's how you're able to port one over the other. But also, people have taken Game Gear games and converted them to work on the Master System, because literally what the Game Gear is the Master System just with a better color palette. So people have actually taken Game Gear games and converted them to work on the Master System. So yes, there are Game Gear games that you can actually grab and port them over to the Master System. So that should be fun to look at too, and that'll be another video category. So now that we set the stage, let's give this a try, shall we? So we plug it into here, and it is a tight fit, so especially one-handed, so be aware of that. So anyway, we turn it on, and we have life. And just to show you, and of course you see nothing on the back, just your standard AV, your standard composite, your standard AV and AC, I should say, excuse me. So we're going to take a look, and we're going to go to Game Series Collections, and I keep mixing up the damn buttons, because on the Master Everdrive, start is 1, and this is 2, so it's the opposite of what the Famicom Everdrive would be. So, Game Series Collections, controllers and peripherals, FM sound support. Now, there was some games that have hidden FM, which obviously need to be patched, but they're patched for the Everdrive. And we're going to go to something that people know a little more, and that's Phantasy Star. So see the Mark III logo on there. And there's FM sound. Now, normally on an American Master System, you need an adapter to do that, or you need that expansion card that goes in the expansion slot back here. And yes, this does have one, but you don't need it because here it is. And apparently the American Master System has problem playing Japanese games and some PAL stuff. Like PAL games wouldn't even boot on Japan consoles. You don't have to worry about that. Now, I can't test that theory because I don't have an American Master System right now. But the main focus is to look at the Master Everdrive, especially since we just got done doing the Everdrive N8. But another cool feature about this system is that you can play some peripherals that were never released in America, because for sure, you can't use Japanese peripherals on an American system. It just will not work. And one of those peripherals is the paddle controller, which it is what it looks like. It's literally a paddle controller for the Master System, and there's a few main titles that use it. The Alex Kidd BMX Trials, Global Protectors was another one, as well as Megumi Rescue. So there's about maybe a handful of games, maybe like 10 or so. And of course, Outrun is compatible, but you can play Outrun without it. But it's still cool to have this, especially when I'm showing off the Master Everdrive, so you can actually see it in action. So that is what we're working with today. And while we're not going to be rebuilding it like we did with the Harley, because there's really nothing to do with rebuilding a Master System. At least this is one Japanese Master System, as beat up as it looks, that's been cleaned and saved from the grave. So now we just move on to the Master Everdrive, and then hopefully we can come back to this in the future where we have a 3D printed card shell where we don't need this dongle and we could just play it natively.